Good day to members of the media and the listening public. Today I am pleased to formally release the May 2023 Labor Force Survey report from the Department of Statistics. The latest Labor Force Survey results show that there has been a significant positive shift in Bermuda's labor market. The data indicates that the unemployment rate was measured at 2.5%. This is the lowest recorded unemployment rate since the 2% recorded in 1980. The report contains selective indicators of labor market, including estimates of employment, unemployment, underemployment, participation, and hours worked. The purpose of the Labor Force Survey is to measure and assess the current labor force trends. It is worth noting that this report does not include comparisons to previous Labor Force Survey reports due to the comparability being impacted by methodological changes and the lack of seasonal adjustment. Additionally, it is important to emphasize that the survey is a sample, and such estimates obtained are subject to variability. As stated, Bermuda's unemployment rate was recorded at 2.5%. There was an estimated 941 people unemployed as of May 2023. Of that figure, 568 males were unemployed, while 373 females were unemployed. The 16 to 24 age group had the highest unemployment rate of 15%, while the 35 to 44 age group had the lowest unemployment rate of 0.6%. The unemployment rate for Bermudians was 2.9%, while the unemployment rate for non-Bermudians was 1.4%. Among the race categories, blacks had the highest unemployment rate of 3.2%, while mixed and other race categories had the lowest at 1%. The unemployment rate for persons with high school certificates was triple that of persons with degrees. The Labor Force Survey is a household survey of private dwelling units targeting all persons 16 years and over. The results of the survey indicate the following. The working population comprised 75.2% Bermudian and 24.8% non-Bermudian. The employment rate was 81.4%. The labor force participation rate was 83.5%. The average hours worked per week in the main job was 41.3. The median gross annual income from the main job for the working population during the reference week was $68,826. Females experience a higher median gross annual income than their male counterparts, and Bermudian workers made 87% as much as non-Bermudian workers. In closing, I am grateful to all the households that participated and completed the survey. The positive labor market trends are strongly correlated to the positive economic news released last month when I reported that Bermuda's economy grew by an estimated 8.3% in the third quarter of 2023, marking the fastest pace of growth in the last 2 years. Bermuda's economic and labor market performance continues to trend in a positive direction. It is clear that from the Labor Force Survey data that employment is increasing and so is workers' income, which is positive and aligns with Bermuda's strengthening economy. The government will continue to facilitate the expansion and sustainability of Bermuda's economy by creating a business environment that allows businesses to thrive. Members of the public can obtain the May 2023 Labor Force Survey on the Bermuda government portal at statistics.gov.bm. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. At this time, we welcome questions from the media.
Good afternoon, Minister. Gary Foster-Skelton, Bermuda Broadcasting. So, one of the difficult things with this survey, and we haven't actually received the survey yet, but it's going to be available online. One of the difficult things with this survey, you said it cannot be, it's not compared to previous surveys. Indeed, you said that the unemployment rate, highest unemployment rate was within the 16 to 24 age group of 15%, which, according to the November 2022 unemployment labour survey, that rate was 11.1%. So that's quite an increase. So what's changed in terms of your methodology? Because that, from just looking at it at first view, it looks like in that group it's got worse.
And you've highlighted one section.
Yeah,
but
of course, but I want to understand what's changed.
So in every other age category, the unemployment rate was actually lower. And so that is the only age category where you're seeing that significant trend upwards in unemployment. And having an unemployment rate for young people around 15% is normal when you look at how they are positioned globally. They typically have the highest unemployment rate in any population worldwide. It means that we have to continuously do more work to support that particular population and ensure that we get those workers back to work. What you will see is that this survey was conducted in May. Typically, surveys are conducted in November. November and May are two different periods as it pertains to employment and seasonality in Bermuda. And so we were cautious to remind persons that when you're doing a direct comparison and the data is not seasonally adjusted, that you can have differences of methodology. The other thing is that the Department of Statistics continues to refine its methodology, and as a result, making adjustments to the weights in which it applies for its sampling. As a result of that, this May survey will begin the new trend. So when you see the November results and every result thereafter, you can then do direct comparisons. What's important is that you look at trends. And so the trend is correct. If we had youth unemployment at 11%, and now we have it at 15%, it means that that's not trending in the right direction and there is some intervention that's needed. But if we look at all other age categories and we see that unemployment rate is actually declining, that's extremely positive. I stated that the 2.5% unemployment rate is the lowest unemployment rate we've had since 1980. That is extremely positive, no matter if you compare it to the previous survey or surveys for the last decade.
Okay. And one of the criticisms that have been leveled at the labour force survey was that it's based on population projections. You yourself have acknowledged with the recent paper to retain the workforce that you're trying to find out exactly how many people have actually left Bermuda, because right now it's mostly anecdotal evidence. How much can we trust the population projections within the survey?
Well, we recognize that our population projections doesn't fully take into consideration immigration and emigration. And so it does measure, taking factor in births and deaths. So we already knew that, but we need a constant population measure to use for all of our statistical indicators. And we need some stability in our population measures, and that's why we use the methodology that we use. We're currently working to refine that as well. I think where you should have confidence is that the trends, the ratios hold firm. So the unemployment rate is actually a ratio. That ratio holds firm whether we're talking about a population of a working population of 54,000 or a population of 52,000.
Okay. I would have thought that it may, if there are people that are not here, though, because the unemployment rate may be different if the people have gone overseas to work.
That's incorrect. You can't survey people that are not here. And so the survey actually takes into consideration the households, the people that are in the households that are actually surveyed. If people are no longer here, then they cannot certainly factor in an increase of persons in the working population.
Okay. You've said that there is a significant positive shift in our in employment in Bermuda, but you have also, in other papers like the need to increase the working population, you've noted, but we need more workers. To some observers, it may seem there's a bit of a dichotomy between these points. Things are going well, but actually it's not going well because we need more workers. Can you address what some people may perceive as the conflict between the two perspectives?
I wouldn't consider it a conflict. The facts are that employment is increasing. We have an annual employment survey that assured that employment is increasing year over year. We have a labor force survey that is conducted twice a year, and that is also indicating that, number one, employment is increasing and unemployment is actually decreasing. Now, that's all positive. I don't know, those can hold true, and we can still need more persons in our overall working population. But if we measure what's happening right now as it pertains to our labor market is trending in a positive direction.
So from what you're saying, is it fair to say that even before the pandemic, we needed more working population then? We were already facing these problems of an aging population and need to have more people employed.
Yes.
Yes. So has there got to be some acknowledgement from this government of a lack of foresight on previous governments?
I don't want to criticize a lack of foresight on previous governments. I think that this government is taking the necessary steps to grow the economy so that we can create more jobs, so that we can increase our working population. I think we've done a good job as to explaining to the public the challenges that we're going to have with an aging population. The Department of Statistics put out a report some time ago, way prior to the pandemic, in terms of, after the census, in terms of our aging population and the impact that it would have. That data was also data that we used when I put out my report in terms of challenges of our aging population. So we've identified this as an issue for some time. Now we're taking direct steps to ensure that we mitigate against the issues that will be presented as a result of that.
But you just acknowledged we've known this is a problem for some time, and we've only been getting papers to address this in the last couple of years.
Incorrect. It has always been the government's desire to increase the number of workers in Bermuda. What economy wouldn't want economic expansion and an increase in workers? I don't know where any government strategy would have something contrary to that.
Some critics would say that the previous PLP government, prior to the OBA government, had strategies like term limits and things like that. Is there an acknowledgement in this government that had a lack of foresight?
You keep trying to go back to some time ago. The notion holds that under every PLP administration, we wanted to increase economic activity and increase jobs in the population.
But isn't it fair to say that the problems we're dealing with now, we didn't get an aging population overnight. We're dealing with decisions made 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago.
I think the best acknowledgement right now would be that we've clearly identified that there is a need to increase our working population. We've taken active steps to ensure that we put measures in place to increase our working population. When we look at and we measure economic performance is measuring in a positive direction right now. When we look at our labor force is trending in a positive direction. And so I think, notwithstanding all what you've articulated, it is still the government's responsibility to give the public a clear indication of where we're trending. If I was standing here and everything was trending negatively, I have to stand by that. And so I'm standing here and things are trending positively, and it is my responsibility to share that positive news with the public.
Thank you, Minister.
Good morning. Albert Solomon from the Royal Gazette. I just have one question. On this bracket of people here, the ones with the high school certificates, where it says that the survey found that unemployment rate is tripled when compared to those with degrees. How does the government plan to address this going forward? Let's say like initiatives, some of the initiatives that could be put into place long term and in the short term.
And so that is an excellent question. Number one, we will work hard to execute on our youth employment strategy. But part of the workforce development strategy is ensuring that we have putting kids on career pathways prior to even leaving the school system. So part of the reform we're doing with education in terms of building signature schools will ensure that persons have the competencies that they require to succeed in the world of work even prior to graduating high school. We are doing some work in terms of dual enrollment, and that's positive. We're putting people on pathways to success at a much earlier age. Then we have the strategies that we have regarding the workforce development strategy. We have the strategy regarding transitioning the National Training Board to the National Certification and Apprenticeship Board. We want to increase the amount of apprenticeships that are actually offered in the community. We also want to ensure we have a greater stream of individuals entering the skills trades. And so there's a number of areas where we have identified jobs which struggle to be filled by Bermudian employees in what I'll consider to be lower skilled service areas, that these individuals who do not have degrees can actually succeed in. But then the other thing is that there's always scope to sharpen the skills of those individuals so that they can be competitive in the workplace.
So I just have a follow-up on that, on the workforce development strategy. Those persons who the government is trying to woo to come back and work, how can the government guarantee them that, that they will fit in and they will have probably a good salary and they can stay and enjoy, work in an economy that you said is thriving?
So you use the word guarantee. I'm not sure if it's the government's responsibility to guarantee. What the government does is put programs in place to better position somebody to take advantage of the opportunities that exist. And some of that is also personal responsibility, and so it's a mix. The government will play its part in order to ensure that people have the necessary training and development, ensuring that there are social protections in place, ensuring that we increase labor protections in the workforce so that the workplace is a better place for persons to work. The cost of living remains an issue, and the government will do its best to alleviate some of the pressures of the cost of living so that persons' personal power can remain whole and they can enjoy a good quality of life in Bermuda. I think that's what the government has committed to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. There are no more questions from the media. Do you have any closing remarks?
Yes, certainly. This is, again, positive news. Our economy is trending in the right direction. Our labor force data is trending in the right direction. It means that we are operating in an efficient and effective manner. And you continue to hear the government share the positive news of the work that is actually doing.
Thank you, Minister. That concludes the press conference, and I thank everyone for joining us. Have a great day.